Would you get on a plane that takes off and lands safely 55% of the time? Young ladies, would you go to a hairdresser that only gets your hair right 55% of the time? Would you go to a restaurant that gets your meal right the first time only 55% of the time? So why are we sending our children to these schools that only get you right 55% of the time?
Good question.
The dropout rate is 45%. It's really higher than that. You know what I'm saying? It's really higher than that. And they say the smart ones, the intelligent ones, get out before they get too much indoctrination. If we are to be in a situation that we're in, something must be wrong with our values. Something must be wrong with our ideas about the way we should walk for our community. There was this woman, it was a very foggy night. Couldn't see very much in front of her. Right? She was trying to get home, but she saw this other car right in front of her. She saw the tail lights. She said, I'll follow that car for a little while. Right? So she followed that car. She said, I'm going to let this other car do all the navigating, do all the worrying, do all the squinting, and I'm going to just follow. About 20 minutes went by, and then that car suddenly stopped, and she collided with that car. She was pissed. She got out of her car. She said, why didn't you signal before you stopped? He said, why should I? I'm in my garage. We, as a black community, we blindly follow other people through the fog of this life.
That's right.
Right? Into their garage. Into where they want us to be. Right? Going by their values. Going by their way. These school systems are not for us. It's their way. It's their values. And their way is the way of death. Their way is the way of menticide. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Their way is the way of individualism. Their way is the way of making our students Uncle Toms and Uncle Thomasines. But it's crazy because we don't really do anything about it. You know, a lot of people, since I'm in education, we started our school last year, 2009, we had 2 students. Now we have 15 students. We're growing. But we need other folks like yourselves to support it. We need other folks who claim to be conscious to be there to help us do what we must do for our children. But people came up to me last year, it was a whole big to-do about the situation with Texas. Texas said they want to take slavery out of the textbooks. They want to do different things with their textbooks. And we need to be worried about that because Texas, well, people said, we need to be worried about it because Texas is the largest buyer of textbooks, and what they say goes for the rest of the nation.
That's right.
So I said, they said, well, Samori, man, what do you think about that? You think that's crazy? I said, you know what, I don't really think about it at all because I respect them. They are walking their way.
That's right. That's right.
They are going to their house. You know what I'm saying? They are going by their values. If you don't like it, build your own.
That's right.
No people going to teach our children to be subservient to them. It's not going to be an education for liberation, but an education for subordination. Right? Edmund Wilson said a long time ago, we are being educated to be educated servants of other people. The same as our enslaved ancestors. You know, everybody wasn't a field hand back then. Everybody, some people, a lot of the enslaved African people had skills. They were supervisors, right? You know what I'm saying? They did, valuable work for the master. But guess what? All the profits went to him. Same thing now.
Still do.
Same thing now. We want to give 95% of our effort to the white man, right? To their system, and only give 5% to our situation, and think it's ever going to get off the ground. It's just not going to happen. But since we understand that, right? We understand that. We understand our values. We understand our way. We're not doing it. We're not building what we need to build because we got some fees. We got some limits on our mind. I'm from New Orleans. My mom is from Mobile, Alabama. And I used to go down there in the summers. And I made a friend down there, and me and him, we would jump on trampolines and play basketball. Because it's actually Dawes, Alabama. All you got to do there is jump on trampolines and play basketball. That's it. There's nothing else going on. But his grandfather had a farm. And he was walking on the farm with his grandfather, and they came face to face with an electric fence. You know what electric fence is to keep the cattle in, right? Shock them if they touch it. So they came face to face with the electric fence, and his grandfather looked around, grabbed the fence, steadied himself, and climbed over. Now the boy, he was, my friend, he was like, yo, I didn't understand that because I remember when I fell into that fence, I got shocked pretty bad. I'll never forget that. So once he got back home, it was early in the morning, it was still breakfast, because they say good things come to those who wait, but only what is left by those who get up early and hustle. Right? So they were up early. They were up early, and he said, Grandpa, why did you look around before you touched that fence? Matter of fact, why do you have an electric fence that's not powered? He said, well, young buck, you gotta understand this. I was looking around so that I can make sure the cattle wasn't watching me. Because you can never give them an idea of what they could do. And just because you have an electric fence doesn't mean it always has to be powered. Because once that cattle knows that there's a possibility they'll get shocked, they'll graze right up to that fence and move back.
Come on now.
What limits do we have? With chains that have been placed around us. Right?
Good point.
They say out of all the space that the European has conquered, right? Out of all the continents and space that it has conquered, there is none more important than the space between our ears. Conquered your mind. Right? Conquered your mind. You can go though, the fence, we have no electricity, so you still ain't trying to climb over. We're supposed to be free, right? So, we're supposed to be thinking, we're supposed to be supposed to be educated folks, but we ain't doing nothing like we're supposed to do. And we understand that there's going to be some things on the other side of that fence. That's why we don't go, right? There's uncertainty on the other side of that fence. There's risk on the other side of that fence. But check out the turtle who only progresses when he sticks his neck out, right? There's going to be some hard work on the other side of that fence. But guess what's also on the side of that fence? Freedom.
That's right.
Right? Freedom is on the side of that fence as well. And we have to get to the point where what is on the side of that fence is more important than what's inside the fence. We got to get to that point. But we don't have the imagination to see it, because if we had the imagination to see it, we would try to go forward. But can you imagine a situation or a world where your children love themselves? You talk to them. You have a situation where your children will fight your enemy toe to toe. Your children will come up with solutions for your community's problem before you even ask him or her. Imagine that. Because things are created twice. Once in your mind, and then once in reality. This building was created twice. Once on a blueprint, well, once in somebody's mind, then on a blueprint, and then into reality.
That's right.
Right? This my man is a country. He knows all this stuff. Right? So we got to build those things in our mind, because if we can't see it, we can't achieve it. We hear that before. So I'm saying this. If we understand that if the tree, our orange tree in our backyard, begins to produce bitter grapes, if the orange tree in the backyard begins to produce bitter grapes, then it is not enough to pick all the grapes off the tree and hope for oranges next year. We got to cut that tree down and start anew. We got to plant some new seeds. And those new seeds got to be our own schools, man. It got to be our own schools. Because these people are teaching our children what they want them to know. There's no, you try to fight them and say, you're going to teach them this. No, they're teaching them what they want them to know so they can be what they want them to be. 45% dropout rate when you drop out. Before you drop out, it's already a class in the prison pipeline. Elementary, they start. 4th grade, if you ain't on grade level, they got a bed for you. They got a bed for you. So if you believe, if you believe in your mind, in your heart, consciously or unconsciously, that the white man will continue to run this world, I'm not talking to you. Go ahead on and let these folks continue to miseducate your children. But if you believe, if you understand that all we got to do is fight and we can win, then build for yourself. It's going to be hard, but he who wants honey must brave the bees. At Kamali Academy, we are developing leaders who will be able to fight our enemy on any continent, under any conditions, any form of warfare, any enemy. We got to do it. Thank you.